Hey guys, how are you? Welcome into a Friday morning episode of the Daily Juice Podcast. My name is Matt Peralt. You guys can follow me across all socials at Sports Talk. Matt and the Daily Juice Podcast being presented by DraftKings. So, 4-1 night for us if you bet everything that we gave to you. 2-0 on the podcast, 2-0 on the Discord live chat. Both player props came in. The bonus bet that I gave you guys on the BettingPros app missed. Troy did not cover. They got housed at home by Texas State, but 4-0 on the NFL game. We'll take that every time. The over came in easily, won a unit there. The same game teaser hits. We moved to 5-2 on our same game teasers in prime time here on 2024 football for the NFL. Tampa Bay plus 7.5. They got, I think, screwed. I mean, I hate the NFL overtime rule. I hate it. I mean, both teams should touch the football. It's how it happens in the playoffs. Why won't it happen in the regular season? It's just beyond me, but fine. Over 38, easy. Baker Mayfield had 3 touchdown tosses. We bet over 1.5. That was easy. Cousins got picked off again at home. Cousins now are throwing 5 interceptions. All of them at home this year. Picked off in the fourth quarter. That cashed a minus 120 bet for a half a unit. So we go 4-0 on the NFL game. We go 0-1 in college. So 4-1 on the night, up 1.96 units on the night last night. So we ping pong back into the black here. We went up, down, up. We're now up for the week as we head to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I've already given you Syracuse plus 6.5 tonight on a Friday night. I'm going to give you a WNBA play that I like that will take place tonight in the postseason. And then we will get into 2 bets on Saturday. I'm going to give you our first 2 plays on Saturday for college football. So the card or the podcast Saturday is not enormous. I'll give you my first 2 plays coming up here for Saturday in college football on today's podcast, which is a Friday, but those plays will take place on Saturday. Before we do that, however, let's talk about DraftKings and the Pick 6. Download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app now. Use the code JUICE, that's code JUICE, for new Pick 6 customers. You play $5, you get $50 in Pick 6 credits guaranteed. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-78-97-777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions may vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Okay. So, like I mentioned, tonight I'm going to be at the game for UNLV and Syracuse. If this number continues to climb from a total perspective, okay, I told you that last night. It's currently 58.5. If we get a late charge to the over and we get to 60, I'll take the under. But otherwise, I don't know. I mean, I think this game has the potential to go over. I like Kyle McCord a lot here. I think he's going to be able to throw the football on the smaller DBs. The larger wideouts for Syracuse, I think, are going to have a pretty good night catching the football. And then I think defensively, I do think UNLV will be able to do some things to slow down to slow down Syracuse. But I also think Syracuse will have some answers here for what UNLV is going to want to do. And I think Syracuse is going to have the ability to do what others haven't been able to do, which is really slow down this go-go offense for UNLV. Look, I would love it if the Rebels win this game. Win the game by 4, 5, 6, okay? I just think 6.5 is too heavy, and I think 7 is the buy spot. So I think this is the top. I do expect to see some Syracuse money come in as the day progresses here on Friday, leading up to kickoff. So my gut tells me this thing will probably close back around 5.5, which is where it sat for most of the week. Opened at 3. Some books were at 5. They got the first bet coming in on Syracuse and drove it down, and then some late money came in and drove it back up to 6.5. I just think Syracuse is live here, and I hope I'm wrong, okay? But I just think having that national rank next to your name, packed house. I mean, the Allegiant's going to be absolutely rocking. I cannot wait to go and check it out. I mean, I don't mind a UNLV in the first half bet. I don't mind that. I just think as the game progresses, I think it's a one-score game. I think it might be a field goal game between Syracuse and UNLV. Tight game. Could go either way. I'll take the points. Syracuse plus 6.5 for 1.1 units. We gave that out yesterday. Let's talk about the WNBA tonight, and let's talk about Minnesota at Connecticut. Now, when these teams have played, the last 9 times they have played each other, it's 6-3 to the under. First 2 games of this series have gone under. 77-70 and 73-70. First game won by Connecticut. Second game won by the Minnesota Lynx. If you guys remember, we have a bet on the Lynx to win this series. It's a best of 5. Now it's a best of 3. Connecticut, the Sun, they have home court. Game 3 and Game 4 is in Connecticut. Game 5 will be back in Minnesota if they need it. The first game, the total was 152.5. It went under. Second game was the first game was 151.5. It went under. Second game was 152.5. It went under. 143, 147. So now we're adjusting. We're back down to a 151.5 total for this game. But at Connecticut this year, both games this year that were played at Connecticut, both games went over, including a game that went to overtime on the 23rd of May, 83-82, the win for Connecticut. In that game, the Lynx were a 5.5-point dog. They covered that. That was a 162 total. The second game in Connecticut was 153.5, more like now. That game wound up being 78-76. That game also did go over there with a 154. It cleared it, not by a lot, but it cleared it at 153.5. I don't think we go flying over. It's playoff basketball. But I do think the change of venue here could benefit. Connecticut at home this year, 15-7 straight up. But Minnesota was 19-5 on the road this year. They were tremendous away from home, but they just score a little bit more. The games go a little bit more on the up-tempo side of things when these two teams get together. For Connecticut, their last game at home against Indiana in the regular season, that game went over. A 164 total went over. They played Minnesota on the 17th of September. That game was, as I said, 153.5. That game went over. For the Lynx going on the road, they had a huge homestand to end the regular season, but their two games, the last two road games for Minnesota, at Connecticut over 153.5 and at New York over 160.5. Both those things came in. So, playing more up tempo, playing more offensively, and then not playing as lockdown defense were the Lynx on the road. I'm going to go ahead and bet the over here, over 151.5 for the Lynx and the Sun here in the WNBA Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals. Okay, to Saturday we go. And there's your Syracuse plus 6.5 and over 151.5 for Minnesota and Connecticut. Both those games are at minus 110, 1.1 units down on that. Let's talk about Tennessee. The numbers are stupid, okay? 4-0 in the first half for Tennessee. What do you think I'm going to do? Not bet this again? I mean, of course I'm betting this. This is just Tennessee is at Arkansas. Josh Heupel, in his 6 seasons as a head coach at UCF and Tennessee, he is 51-22-2 ATS. On the road, it's even better. Josh Heupel's teams are 28-8-1 against the spread in the first half this year. Now, on top of the fact that Arkansas lost last week playing in Dallas against Texas A&M, the Vols are off of a bye. They beat Oklahoma, they covered in the first half, and they had a bye. And now they're on the road at Arkansas, and the number is 7. It was 6.5. I wanted to give it out last night when it was 6.5. I got it at 6.5, but there's no 6.5s left. DraftKings had it. They were the only ones. They're at 6.5. Now we're at 7, okay? Across the globe, it's 7, but it's going up. It's going to be 7.5. Circa in Vegas is at 7. Superbook at Vegas is at 7. But you look around the country and you start seeing, okay, we're going to watch this number creep up. This number is going to close at 7.5 most likely, or maybe even higher, depending on how people push it. It's 7.5 at DraftKings. It's 7.5 in other books. 7 here in Vegas, but 7's the number, okay? Tennessee to be up by 7. I'm going to lay it. I'm going to ride this trend. Again, just a crazy number, 28-8-1 in the first half for Tennessee, or for Josh Heupel, rather, on the road at UCF and Tennessee. Minus 7, Vols, not 7.5. I want 7 for the Vols here in the first half up against Arkansas for 1.1 units. Yes, there's a push potential when it comes to that. That's very possible, but we're laying the 7 here with Tennessee. And then finally, the Kansas Jayhawks are 0-5 in the first half ATS. I mean, Kent is 0-5. I mean, it's one of those situations where you start looking at this and going like, Kansas is 0-5, Kent is 0-5. Those are the only two schools in all of college football that have failed to cover a spread in the first half when they've played 5 games. North Carolina is 0-4-1. NC State is 0-4-1. Air Force is 0-4. Wisconsin is 0-4. But Kent State, which according to the South Point, they are the lowest rated FBS power rated school in 30 years. Now, I'm not saying Kansas is that bad, but Kansas is not good. And now they're on the road at Arizona State, and Arizona State is only -1 in the first half. They're 3-1 this year, ATS at home, and their average, cover is by 9.4 points in the first half. For Kansas, their average deficit is 8.7 points in the first half, failing to cover by over 8 points, nearly 9 points in the first half. Kansas is not covering. This is just a play on numbers here. 3-1 at home. Arizona State, who's played well at home this year, they're 3-1 overall ATS. They took on Wyoming. They won and covered. They took on Mississippi State. They won and covered. They took on Texas Tech. They won. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, that can't be right. They were against Texas State. They were dogs. That can't be right. But that's what it says. +3. 3-0. They lost to Texas Tech on the road, 30-22. They did not cover. They were catching 4. They lost by 8 in that game on the road in Lubbock. But now they're back home against Kansas. And look, Arizona State at home has been a much different team, beating an SEC school. I know Mississippi State's not very good. Kansas is not very good. I'm going to lay the 1 point. Arizona State -1 in the first half up against Kansas for 1.1 units. Okay, so 4 plays for us on a Friday. Syracuse +6.5 in their game on the road at UNLV. Over 151.5 for the Lynx and the Sun. That game tonight for 1.1 units. Tennessee Vols in the first half at Arkansas -7. Arizona State at home against Kansas -1 in the first half as well. Guys, reminder for the Discord chat. That will happen on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on the Discord channel. We had about 150 people in there on a Thursday for 20 minutes before Thursday Night Football. That was awesome. Now, when we do a live stream on our YouTube channel, we get about 500 people on it. So we're not going to stop doing the Thursday live stream. But that was cool to see that. So I know some of you guys were in there for the first time. Hopefully that will transition over to Saturday. I'll give you my entire card. We've done pretty well with my full card. We've had 2 out of the last 3 weeks of winning weeks, an 8-3, a 7-2-1, and a 5-5-1. I believe were my marks over the first 3 weeks of giving out the full card on Saturday on the Discord chat. So looking forward to do that on Saturday. Make a note, give yourself an alarm for that, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific time on the Discord channel. To join the Discord, it's bettingpros.com/chat. My name is Matt Peralt. Follow me across all socials at Sports Talk Matt every morning. It's the Daily Juice Podcast presented by DraftKings.